Hey everyone, my name is Kris Barocsi and welcome to Comment Time 32. We'll talk a little bit about the Imperial Mark II preamp pedal, about relicking guitars, and some other stuff too, so stick around. Check out the description box under the video for additional infos, timestamps, my merchandise, and all kinds of stuff. And now, let's get into it. Texan for Now wrote under my PV Decade video that I just released. I think that was my latest release at this point, at least, when I'm recording this video. Oh yeah, and sorry, I pronounced decade wrong throughout the video, as usual with me. So yeah, I think I said like decade or something. It's decade. Sorry for that. Not my native language. Kris, since the Decade pedal has equalizer controls, where do you set the amps EQ? Well, that is a very good point, and actually, even though I have a very simple and consistent answer to this, it's a very reasonable thing to ask, because if you have multiple stages of EQing your sound, how do you know which makes most sense? Like, which should be the EQ that you use most, and which is just there to sort of fine-tune stuff? My rule of thumb is that I always set up my sound, my clean or dirty amp sound first. It has to work with the guitar. It has to react the way I like my rig to react before I engage any of the pedals, drives, fuzzes, preamps, anything. My tone is, in this case, it's this. This is the ES-330L. It's like a 335 but full hollow. Goes into the Tone King Imperial Preamp pedal. That goes into the effects return of the Joey Landreth Edition D25 Rev combo. And that goes into the aux box for my favorite Anico speaker loaded 2x12 cab simulation. This is how that sounds like. A hair of breakup, beautiful, rich, clean sound that compresses a little bit already. This is an amazing sort of bass. And on top of this, whatever I turn on, like whatever I engage between the guitar and the amp, has to work with that. So I will not tweak the amp anymore. This is how it is. Set and forget. And if I have a drive pedal that's just too mid-rangey or too scooped or too dull or too thin sounding with this setup, then, and I cannot tweak that pedal with its tone or EQ knob to work with this setup, then I'll ditch that pedal. It's as simple as that. I'll stick to drive pedals that work with it, and I will fine-tune that drive sound with the EQ or tone on the pedal itself. So I don't shape my overall tone with, for example, the PV Decade's EQ knobs. It has a 3-band EQ, which is really cool, but I don't use that to shape my overall tone, because what if I want to turn that pedal off and use something else? The whole sound is just all messed up. It's not balanced anymore. So my root is a really nice, clean or crunchy sound, and whatever I engage, whatever I turn on and off, has to work with that. So I would never touch the amp's EQ, is my short answer. Once I set it up and I'm happy with how it sounds, I'm good, I'm done. Okay, let's talk about this guitar behind me. Let me grab it real fast. This baby. Two Guitar Garage wrote under my last episode of the refinishing series. A bit late, but do you think this would work with the Epiphone TV Yellow LP Special? Really great relic job, and I don't even like relic jobs. But now you've made me want to try this on a TVL or Epiphone Les Paul Special. I don't think it will work the same way. I'm not sure if you paid attention to the relicing section, like how easy it was to scratch off and dent the guitar. That is only possible because of a very thin, even though it's multiple layers, it's still a very thin finish, and it's a nitro finish. If you try to dent and scratch off certain sections, like this part or the armrest part or whatever on an Epiphone that has a not super thick but a medium thick polyurethane finish, which is much more sturdy than this, you're gonna just scratch that thing forever. It will not sort of peel off the same way at all like this did. So, and also the scratches will not look that natural because of how sturdy that kind of finish is, that poly finish on Epiphone guitars is. And not just Epiphones, like every single sort of reasonably priced, not nitro finished instrument. Those finishes will not really yellow, those finishes will not crack, those finishes will not have signs of wear that easily. So if you want to make a guitar look really good with a subtle to medium subtle relic, such as this guitar, you need the much more sort of sensitive and easier to scratch off nitro finish. And now let's talk about the Imperial Preamp. You've heard the intro jam, me playing over a loop. That was this rig. So, well, let me go back to that guitar. That was this guitar, the ES-330L, going into the Imperial Preamp pedal that goes into the effects return of the Rev D25 Joy Landrath Edition combo. Even though this is a preamp pedal and it makes so much sense to plug it into a power amp, right? I didn't bother until now because the built-in IRs are so good. I just use usually the two XLR outs, stereo reverb and tremolo. It's such a great all-in-one box kind of product. Like I never felt like, oh, I'll use just the preamp side of it and go into an amp's effects returns or into the power amp. Just too much hassle, and it was not necessary because it sounded so great going straight into the audio interface. So right now the Imperial Preamp pedal is literally just a preamp. The IRs are disengaged and all those things, and I have at least two, maybe three comments that are connected to this preamp. So Philip 5150, that's a good name. Thanks for the test, Kris. I know it's hard to compare these, and most of the difference I think comes from the power amp. Did the preamp pedal need to have the power amp simulation disabled when not using onboard IRs? No. I think the power amp simulation is always enabled if you're using the XLR outs. You can disable the IRs, but I don't think the power amp simulation gets disabled through those XLRs. If you want to get around that and just use the preamp, just use the output that says into amps return, because that is literally just the preamp section of the Imperial preamp pedal. One thing that preamp has, and most likely Synergy and the amp lacks, is effects loop. The amp does not, like the actual Imperial Mark II amp does not have an effects loop, but the Synergy does. So yeah, there's that. With delays and reverbs in front of the gain channel would be pretty useless for me. True, absolutely. That's why if I use my Imperial Mark II amp, I use it clean. I don't use the lead channel very often if I use effects. So that's why you can just put everything in front. You put your drive pedals, delay, reverb, chorus, whatever you want in front of the amp, and just keep the amp kind of clean. Clean or clean-ish. It depends on the volume, of course. With humbuckers, you reach the limit of the headroom, so it starts to drive a little bit even on the clean channel and the rhythm channel. But it's gonna be really loud at that point, and a little breakup doesn't matter if you use delays and reverbs. It's just a matter of, like, you know, proper crunch. That's too much to have then reverbs in front, maybe. So yeah, that's a limitation, of course. And if you use the preamp or the Synergy preamp module, you'll have the effects loop, so you can put stuff in between the preamp and the power amp using the effects loop, of course, and those will not get distorted. Current 3984. I wonder how the Tone King pedal would sound in the effects loop of your new Rev D25, so the Joey Landreth Edition D25 combo, which has an effects loop. The amp, this Rev, uses the same power tubes as the Tone King had. Would it sound the same? Well, let's figure it out. I'm looking forward to your impressions. Let me know in the comments below if there was like a huge difference between the preamp pedal going into the Rev D25's power amp compared to the Imperial Mark II had. Clean and distorted, so rhythm and lead channel. I tried to play both. Honestly, the player's impression is very damn similar, like similar to a point where I don't really care. I mean, this is the pedal again with the Rev, and come on. It's dynamic, it's sweet, it has the warmth and that richness that you wish from like a perfect clean sound. It's amazing. So whenever I play this, I don't think about how close I am to the amp. And for those who said like, yeah, but you said that the amp is so much more impressive and you like it more, I'm like, of course. I mean, how could I not prefer the amp version of any amp or product or whatever, you know, as practical and much more clever it is to use modelers and plugins and, you know, preamp pedals that are not loud and have impulse responses built in, just like the Imperial preamp pedal. There's nothing that compares to the impression of, or the experience of being in a room with a loud amp. And that alone, even if it doesn't make any sense other than that, I will always feel more inspired and will have more, will get closer to having goosebumps when using the amp version of, for example, the Imperial. But that goes for like Friedmans and Marshalls and Fenders and literally whichever amp. It's just the reason why they still exist. And last but not least, I cannot pronounce this. Way too many consonants. PR Zemi Soch Meal 116. How would you describe dynamics and response of the pedal versus amp on headphones? Ooh, headphones, that's a tricky one. I have two options for silent practicing: load box or attenuator for my tube amp, or the Tone King preamp pedal. Will the preamp give me this response of a tube amp? Yeah, man, headphones. That's like the vibe and mojo killer number one to me. The worst thing I can imagine for myself is playing with headphones, which doesn't mean that I don't do it every now and then. And it, you know, if it's the only option, it's still better than not using an amp anymore at all. So it's okay. It's just that even if I'm using the aux box, which is something that I use every time that I play guitar at home in my home studio because of, well, noise, volumes and stuff. And sometimes I plug my favorite headphones into the headphones out of the aux. And every time I do that, I'm like, oh, it's good, but it's so much nicer using near field monitors set to a very quiet volume and just go through the audio interface and use those. I don't know why. It's the room. It's just so much more natural than using headphones where the speaker is, you know, half an inch from your eardrums, basically. So the Imperial Preamp's headphone sound is as good as it gets. Would I still prefer the amp with something like the aux box and then, you know, using that for headphones? Yes, I think, but considering the amount of extra money that you have to spend on that rig is not in relation, like definitely not in a fair relation to the sound difference that I experience. So it really depends on, like, do you want to get the most out of headphones sound? Then I guess maybe it makes sense to get an amp with a load box. It's really tough to answer, man. I would love to see your opinion. Everyone who's watching this, if you ever compared these and have like a favorite headphones setting for like silent practicing, please let us know in the comments below, because this might be helpful. I have no good answer here. Sorry. I much prefer not using headphones for guitars, whatever the volume is. Like, whispering quiet is still better than headphones to me. All right, see you down there in the comments below. If you have any questions, hit me up. I will answer them, everything that I can answer, of course, and you might end up in one of these comment time videos. Yeah, comment time 33 is coming up in a couple of weeks, I guess. So yeah, see you next time in the video, and bye-bye.